Do you want to start investing in real estate, but your debt is holding you back? My name is Mindy Jensen, and I'm with BiggerPockets.com, the real estate investing social network. Today, I'm going to give you 5 ways to knock out your debt so you can get started building your real estate empire. Tip number 1 is track your spending. I like to go old school. I keep all of my spending information in a notebook. It's a notebook that sits on my countertop, and I physically have to write down every single time I spend a dime. What that does for me, having it on the countertop, is a physical reminder every time I walk in the house that I need to write down what I've spent. I make a few columns on each page: the date, the amount I spent, where I spent it, and a general category like clothing or groceries or utilities. I also keep a running total on the side of the notebook just so I have a general idea of how much money I've spent that month. You could also go new school and use an electronic method. Keep track of your spending through an Excel spreadsheet or through budgeting software like mint.com, which is free. It's best to keep track of your spending for a month or two to get a handle on where all your money's going, which leads us to tip number 2, make a budget. Once you know where all your money goes every month, you can start cutting the expenses. If you know that you're spending $50 a week on restaurants, you can cut that back pretty easily. But if you don't know where your money's going, it's hard to budget. Once you've checked your spending for a couple of months, now it's time to make a budget. First off, make a budget based solely on what you're currently spending your money on. It'll be easier to direct it where you want it to go now that you know where it's currently going. Tip number 3 is dump that debt. Now is time to start heavily paying off your debt. There's 2 schools of thought on which way is the best to go about this, but they both start at the same step. List all your debts, from largest debt to smallest debt, from highest interest rate to smallest interest rate. Whichever way you want to list out your debts, make sure you list them all out. One great big sheet, one little sheet, however much debt you have. The first method is called the snowball method, and this was made popular by Dave Ramsey, who is a personal finance expert. And he says, take your debts and list them from the smallest debt to the largest debt, amount-wise. No, he doesn't care what the interest rate is. He's just going from smallest to largest. And you make minimum payments on every debt except the smallest, and you throw every dollar you have extra at that smallest debt. And when that debt is paid off, you take all the money you were paying towards that debt and throw it to the next largest debt, and on and on and on. This method is really, really popular for people who are just suffering under mountains of debt and don't know how to get a handle on it. You get the small win, and then you get a bigger win, and pretty soon all of your debts are paid off. The only problem I have with this method is that it doesn't take into account the interest rates that you're paying. Your smallest debt may have a tiny interest rate, while your largest debt has an enormous interest rate. With this second method, you make a list of all of your debts, but you arrange it from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. What you do is you list out all your debts, but you list them out in order of interest rate, from highest rate to lowest rate. Again, you make minimum payments on all the debt that you have, except for the debt with the highest interest rate. You take every dollar you have, every extra cent you can find, and you throw it at that rate until that debt is gone. Lather, rinse, repeat down the line until all of your debts are paid off. But with this method, you're not paying nearly so much in interest. Tip number 4 is reduce your interest rate. It used to be you could call up a credit card company and ask them to reduce your interest rate. They would be happy to comply to keep you as a customer. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask, but don't be surprised if they say no. Never fear, I've got another solution for you. Did you ever get a credit card invitation in the mail? Or like 100? Open those up and see what their introductory interest rate is. You may be able to transfer your high interest rate credit card debt to a lower interest rate card. Now, it might just be a teaser rate, but it's much better to pay 0% for 6 months than 17% for those same 6 months. Tip number 5 is add to your income. This doesn't mean getting a whole second job or getting a brand new job, although if you are making minimum wage or making a lower wage, you might want to consider that. There are all sorts of side jobs that you can pick up, make your own hours for. Be a brand ambassador. You go to a football game and you represent a phone company for 2 hours. Now, that's not a huge paycheck, but it's also not a huge time commitment. Or look to your current job. Did you get a raise last year? Have you gotten a bonus ever? What did you do with that money? The next time you get a raise, take that money and throw it at your debt. Continue to live on your current income, and all the extra, throw at your debt until it's gone. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to the BiggerPockets YouTube channel, where you can get these videos as soon as they're released. For BiggerPockets.com, this is Mindy Jensen signing off.